Welcome to A Shelter in a Time of Storm. My name is Roger Comstock. I preach for the Morrison Church of Christ in Morrison, Tennessee. This program originally began or was designed to try to help people as they face traumatic events in their lives. And we, in the series of these few years we've been doing this program, we've dealt with a lot of different kinds of traumatic events that have occurred in people's lives. And today we're going to be talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, and we have a special guest with us, Brother Ricky, and I did that back where I'm introduce Brother Ricky to you. This is Colonel Ricky N. Hagan, U.S. Army. He's active duty, and he acknowledges that he does have post-traumatic stress disorder as well as traumatic brain injury, and so he's here to talk about how those things affect his life and the harm they've caused and hopefully the help that he has sought. And his reason for being here and doing this series of programs with us is to maybe bring it to a greater attention level for all of us, and maybe there are those out there who need help, and maybe encourage them to seek the help that they need, but also to maybe make us all more sensitive and more aware in dealing with some of the things that, some of the baggage, if you will, that people bring home from war. Brother Ricky, it's good to see you again.
Yes,
good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
As we've said, we've been doing this a series, so if you haven't seen the previous two programs, you're kind of at somewhat of a loss. But we've been talking about his experiences in Iraq and his work in the U.S. Army and the things that he has experienced that have brought him to the point he is in his life. He has talked about how war has changed him and how difficult it is to come back home to family after being in a war environment. And so I hope you'll have opportunity to see those other programs. And we can't go through all of it again and again, but I hope you'll be able to see those programs. Ricky, if you would, can you give us some maybe an example or some kind of an example of the kind of things that we believe cause post-traumatic stress disorder?
It's just the whole daily life there, you know. It's as I was telling you earlier, I call Balad home. It's a 15 by square. It was a logistical support base, and when you're talking about fish in a barrel, as the old saying goes, the 2005 year I was there, they claim that we was rocketed or mortared inside. Not outside, not going outside the wire, what we do every day, but inside 460 times.
Wow.
365 days in a year. There was, I brought you a little, you know, if you make it on a t-shirt, you've done good. You can see.
That thing about I've got the t-shirt?
Yeah, you know, it's Margaritaville, but they renamed it Mortaritaville, or Mortarville. And you can,
one side of it
you can see the, you know, the analogy or the joke, if you will, just constantly being shelled in Balad. I was all over Mosul and from top to bottom, to Crete, to Lille, Taji. But this is what a rocket that didn't go off looks like. Me and two other soldiers was again, I don't know why God spared me so many times, but we was outside the wire, and three of them come in within just a matter of feet of us, and all three of them was duds. They just smoked out, and all three of them, one of them would have been in the kill zone, but all three of them smoked out. And you're really not allowed to take anything out of the theater like that, armament-wise. But my two-star general, it has to be signed off by a two-star, but he heard the story, and he's fond of me, and he said, hey, without a doubt, take it home.
So when this was whole, how big was this?
They're about 3 to 4 foot long, and to tube like. Yeah.
And you said these came inside your camp.
Oh yeah.
And stuck in the ground. How close were you to?
8 or 10 feet from
And you say there were three of them.
Mm-hmm.
And roughly how many men were right there in that area?
It's just three of us.
Just three of you. And so
but probably 20 yards away was other people. I mean, it was just all like watching. It was like watching a circus. They were all like, hey, are they going to blow? I mean, they was going to get to see firsthand front row tickets if it blowed. They was going to get to see us blow to pieces. So pretty horrific.
Can I refer to this?
Yes.
And the reason I question, because I don't know I don't want to do something that's not permissible, but the print on this, and this would be called a rocket?
Correct.
The print on here, what's left of it is either Russian or Chinese, which is kind of interesting as well.
Right.
And so you could hear these coming in?
No, it's just a sort of like a whistle, and then it's a thump when it went in the ground. But it varies. They can explode in the air. It can, the thing about you just pointed out. Thank God it's Russian or Chinese munitions, or
been American.
Iraqi. Oh yeah. Oh, it'd been a bad day.
Yeah.
Because we do precision stuff, and it would. Everything we do shoot munition-wise is not 100%, but I mean that's human error. But I'm a whole lot rather it'd been that than an American round.
How big of a hole would this have made?
Oh, probably 10 yards, something like that in diameter.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after these and these three rockets came in and stuck in the ground, and obviously didn't detonate. At what point? What was your reaction to that? At what point?
You just there's no describing. I mean, you just freeze. I know what the other two guys looked like, and they was both black guys, but they didn't look good, and I probably looked green. I don't know. I mean, you're just like you don't. What are you going to do? I mean, that's the thing. What are you going to do? You're in the desert. You're in an open area. Where are you going to run? What are you going to do? I mean, it's the thing, and it comes back to part of the PTSD, and that would have caused definite TBI. But what are you going to do? The effect of that, that just went on and on and on. Hey, I lived today, but the thing of it is, Roger, you're going to go right back out and do it again the next day. I mean, I probably have closer ones than that. We would come in, we would average 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, and the alarm would come on as they went along. They would set up defense mechanisms where they could intercept or i.e. notify us, just like a tornado warning, and you'd hear this loud siren go off at the incoming rounds. But there again, you're in a 15 by 15 square compound base, and you've been out on a mission all day long. You're wore out. You're working on your 4 hours sleep, and do you get up and run and go in the foxhole? When you first get there, yes, you do. I told you that's how I had to get my thumb operated on. But after a while, you get so desensitized to it, you don't. And I remember one night, one went off and took the corner of her tent out, looked like Swiss cheese and stuff. And my man, Sergeant Purnell over there, just all I heard him say in the dark was, "That one was pretty close, sir." And but you didn't get up, and if you run over here, if you run over there, it's coming in. It's a 50-50 shot, whether it's going to get you or not.
Oh, and just that, and you said that 400 in the
460 times in a
within your camp, not out in a battlefield.
No.
Somewhere.
No.
Right within your camp.
No, it's
I mean, there's no way you could measure what that does to a human being, knowing that that's going to be night after night and day after day, and not knowing whether you're going to have another breath.
We had several soldiers killed, straight out killed.
Within the camp.
Oh yeah, because it's calculated. I mean, how they do. When you're doing say artillery, you do quadrant deflection. That means you're raising the tube, your angles or whatever, and it's a mathematical calculation. And if I shoot close to you, say I miss you by 10 yards, then whoever's calling that in for fire, I walk the dog. I just say, hey, left 2 clicks, 5 clicks, or whatever.
Right.
And next round I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of it was inside. I told you they had a lot of TCNs and third country nationals, and they all look alike, so it's easy to infiltrate. And you got your cell phone, and they'll use a reference point, a water tower, or this or that, and you say, hey, 30 clicks to the right, shoot, and then if you get somebody, and it has. We had several KIAs like that, but it has a huge effect on you.
Sure. And the last time we were talking about that effect and how in the battlefield or in that arena, in that area, that there's the opportunity for that adrenaline to get relieved. Is that a fair way to say it?
Absolutely, because you want to go kill them.
And so,
let's cut to the chase. That's what you're there for. I don't have time for a lot of, and I know this is a church program, but all the way around, I don't have time for a lot of. I'm not a babysitter. None of us are, and our job's not to do that. Our job is to go kill and destroy and come back alive. If we don't, they're going to do the same to you. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, my next question was going to be, over there you had the opportunity for the adrenaline to be dispersed. The adrenaline can be shed toward the enemy, and thus it doesn't have the opportunity maybe to build up within you. But now you come home. You don't have that place you don't have that availability for the adrenaline to get relieved. So what happens when you come home?
Well, and that's why your stats are so high on like I said earlier, on the suicide, the domestic violence. You see these young kids buying suicide bikes, my driving. All that goes into adrenaline rush. I told you in Guyana this story. I told you I would try to tell you this on your program. My oldest daughter Brandy was the only one that I'd ever told this to, and it took me a couple months to do that, but to set the stage, multiple combat scenarios and coming back home, and I just couldn't deal, or did I want to deal with people? I didn't want to deal with stupid. I couldn't deal with stupid. Idiots asking did you kill anybody, or this things just Americanized Hollywood movie stuff. It's not that way. It's not that way. So I had done my comfortably numb thing that I was doing every day and trying to hide out and wasn't working for me. But I had I had agreed to go to the VA office, and I remember my first time going down there, and didn't want to be late. You don't be late. Being on time is being 10 minutes early, and that's good for church people.
Amen. Amen.
So it was coming a typhoon that day, and I went down there and met with the guy, and I went through.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to make sure folks understand what you mean by typhoon.
Well, it's coming to flood in Nashville. I was going to Nashville. I'm sorry. I was driving from Tompkinsville to Nashville, and that was my first appointment. And I was meeting with the PTSD dude, and I was, it's morning time. So it's all the traffic. It's coming to flood, and my stress level's out of this world. I'm determined not to be late. So I get in there, and I'm soaking wet. Look up at the clock, I sign in. I got 10 minutes, so I'm doing good. I sit down. Here comes this old dude down the hall and everything. He goes over there and he's Hagen. I said, right here, sir. And he didn't say nothing. Hi, how you doing? He turns around and walked in. He starts snapping. He said, come on, let's go. Let's get going. Well, that didn't go over good. That didn't go over good. And so we went in his little office, and he proceeds to ask me this gauntlet of questions. And he said, how you doing? And this and that. And I said, well, I'm doing fine. I said, I'm trying to, was navigating all this Nashville traffic. And I said, it's coming to typhoon. And I said, a little stressful morning. And he proceeds to tell me that I know nothing about stress, and he starts telling me that about his wife dying of cancer, and proceeds with that, and it didn't go good from there. And so he's.
And this was the therapist?
Oh, this is a VA therapist, yeah. And so he said the wrong thing that triggered me, and I got up and I pushed his desk back and cornered him in the wall, and I said a bunch of choice words to him, and you could probably hear me all down the hall, and I said, I'm out of here, and started out, and he said, you can't leave, and I'm like, you don't understand, dude, and they tell me I can't leave, and I put up your stuff here, and I'm really trying to watch my.
You're doing well.
Thank you.
You're doing well.
I needed that, and so he proceeds to tell me that I'm gonna have to come back anyway, blah blah blah, and then he said, will you please just sit down? He said, please, that worked. You remember I told you earlier about just listening and loving us and that kind of true love. So I sat down, but I wouldn't give him no respect. I turned my chair to the wall, and I faced the wall, and I said, now I asked your questions. And so he went through his stuff and everything, and then at the end, he said, I'm sorry. And I turned around, and I had tears in my eyes, and I said, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry too, sir. I said, I'm sorry about your wife. I'm sorry about everything you're going through, but I said, I didn't come down here for this. I didn't come down here to be abused and made fun of, or like I'm some kind of cattle or number or something like that. And the reason I'm telling you that is because we're human beings,
sure.
and each one of us is different. God created us that way. And so that was that. But anyway, it got so much attention. Like I said, I was screaming, veins popping out, and they heard me down the hall, and I hadn't much more than got down 15 minutes down the road on the interstate, and the director of the VA called me and apologized, and this guy's no longer there. I hate it, but I mean, it's probably the best, because if it had been a young soldier, he probably would have snapped his neck and had been done with it. I went home, fast forward a few weeks, months, I don't know, whatever, but it was a lot about service dogs and this and that, and so I thought, I'd get me a dog, and that was the wrong thing to do. I got a little golden retriever, and that's fine when it's a puppy, and everything, but I was still dealing with the demons, and really didn't have or didn't take the proper time to deal with the dog like you should have and everything, and I had horses out there, and I had a hose running out, maybe 100-foot hose running out to water my horses, and the dog would eat the hose constantly. The puppy.
Yeah.
And it's about morph on up is about a year, something like that, 10 months a year, and it wouldn't matter. I'd buy a hose, and I kept a gun. I sat on the back porch and I shot. Anything that moved, I shot it. Birds, this, that, anything that moved, I shot. And you remember I was comfortably numb.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would come home and I'd scream at her, Ellie, and she'd take off and run so many feet and hunker down. And I'd be shooting all around her. And I think now looking back, she thought I was playing with her. Well, one day I come home and I'd built my house, and I'd had the front of it stubbed for a flagpole and water and lights. I wanted to put a fountain and a thing for my flag and to be lit up. And I'd come home one day and she'd chewed that up, the electrical thing and everything. See, the expression you made, well, you can magnify that times about 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
I was livid. And so I went in the house and I got the rifle, I loaded the clip, got another clip, and she was out there laying there and wagging her tail. And so I shot at her. I was screaming, I'm cussing, I'm just throwing. So I would shoot, and she'd run and go back 10 or 15 feet, lay down. I'd shoot again. You see the dirt fly up. Well, make a long story short, we done this for a whole 2 clips, and I loaded another one. And by now, she's about 50 yards away, up in the end of the horse, my fence where the horses are fenced in. And the last shot I took, I seen the dirt fly, but I heard her go, whoop, you know, just like that. And so I said, well, you know, I've shot my blinking dog. And so I went in, and I just throwed the gun down on the bed, and I said, you know, I don't care. Everything out of my mouth was, you know, effing cussing, and I said, I don't care, you know, and just raging, and the rage is unreal. And I raised a curtain in my bed, and I looked out there, and I've got 3 horses there, and you know, animals have a natural instinct, and I looked out over there, and they was standing over, and it killed me. And I just dropped to my knees, and I started crying, and I run out, and I got my truck, my farm truck, and I flew across the field, left the gate open. You know, the horses could have got out, and I flew to the end of the field there, and she was still alive, and the look was not priceless, unforgettable. The pain that it caused me, and so I picked her up and threw her in the truck. She's crying the whole time, and blood on me, and then I flew out to the veterinarians. I'm just saying, God, you know, please don't let her die. Please, I've done this. Please don't let her die. And anyway, he took her in, and they operated on her, and it hit her thigh and a little part of her abdomen, and he kept her 3 days, and they operated on her and stitched her up, and she lived. And I think that was maybe my turning point of I've got a battle. It ain't nothing like Iraq. And if I could say anything to anybody listening that's dealing with this, don't quit, don't give up, because you know, God saved me. He brought me through this, but it wasn't at that moment.
Right.
It was years later. It was years later through a lot of still the drinking. One time I'd got on Oxycontin for the pain and injuries that I had, and that like to kill me. But I didn't quit. And you know, I highly encourage anybody out there to find them a real church of Christ. It's got solid foundation, solid elders, and govern the church like the doctrine of the Bible is supposed to be, and that's what's brought me to where I am right now.
Yeah. Well, and to your credit, one, the fact that you acknowledge that, but at the when you shot your dog, was there a light that went on? Was there an awakening? At what point in that did you say, I've got to get some help?
When I seen the horses do what they naturally do. You know, God's so great, and the creator of the universe, and the natural instinct of them knowing that they see Ellie would go play with them. And they knew, you know, but they knew she was hurt. Mm-hmm. And watching them was when it broke my heart. But then when I went and picked her up, I mean, this is still life, and life's so precious. Yeah. And hunting's one thing.
Right.
Going to war is something else.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So at what point did you then begin to seek help?
Oh yes, yeah, and that's when they done all kinds of stuff to me. Then that's when they, you know, the CAT scans and all this stuff, and that's when they took me. I think I'm fortunate. At that time, I was a major going into lieutenant colonel, and I think rank just like hierarchy in the civilian world. It has its privileges, so to speak, and they took the time to show me. They'd show me my brain scans, and they would show me this is not right, and this, and then the PTSD thing, and start going through that therapy and counseling and trying to. It's trying to get you to open up, and as long as you keep the demons inside, and you're trying to mask it, hide it, and stay numb, it's never going to get better.
Yeah.
It's never going to get better.
Yeah. Okay. How about we'll stop there for this program, and we'll close this program, and tell our audience that we'll continue this discussion in a couple future programs. And again, Ricky, I greatly appreciate your openness and your honesty and your desire to help other people. I love you as a brother and a friend.
Same here.
And you've done me more good than you can know. One of the things as we close the program, I wanted to touch on and bring this back to something about us individually and us personally. As Ricky was talking about earlier in this program, that in Iraq they would lay down and try to sleep, and bombs going off and these rockets coming into their camp and so forth. And he had mentioned earlier that you didn't even bother to get up and go seek shelter because you needed your sleep, and it just was another day of that kind of thing. You said 460 of these rockets had come into their camp. And he used a word in talking about that. He used the word desensitized. And I don't know if we realize how real that is for each one of us in our individual lives. I believe within the Lord's church, I believe we're more tolerant of sin in some ways. And I think we become very critical of one another, and maybe sometimes overly critical, and don't express the love that we need to reach out and save people and help them turn to God. But that word about being desensitized, as a kid growing up on the farm, we would, and working with horses, we would use a saddle blanket. And a 2-year-old foal, we would take that blanket up to them, let the horse smell it. Mm-hmm. We'd rub the horse all over with the blanket, and eventually we'd begin to throw it at the horse. And at first the horse would have a startled reaction, but it's not long until you have desensitized that horse and it has no reaction to the blanket. And just as Ricky was talking about, with he and his fellow soldiers could lay down and go to sleep at night while a war is raging around them, we do the same thing with sin. We lay down right beside it. We don't let it bother us, and we certainly don't acknowledge it.